Since I did the video review of the car DVR, I've had a request to see a comparison against the D011, so I'm going to do that, and I've also realised that there's enough features that I didn't explain on the camera last time to enable me to put together a proper video. So I'll show you some of those features now. Now, using the menu and the up-down button and the record snap button on the other side, you can select some of the additional features within the menu system. Now, the way the camera splits the up, down and the select buttons on opposite sides make it a little bit difficult to navigate through these menus, but I'll just show you some of them. On the setting the date and time, the screen looks like this, and you just use up and down to select the date or time. I'll show you the version number on the camera that I've got. That might be interesting to somebody. And then the light frequency thing that I mentioned before. I thought it was something to do with the frame rate, but actually I don't think it is now because it uses 30 frames per second. So whether it's 60 or 50 Hz, I think must be to stop the interior lights flickering depending on what area you're in when you're recording. Now, I'll show you some of the other mode functions within the camera here. If you press the mode button from the record video mode, the next mode along is a camera mode, which if you press the record snap button, takes a photograph with the appropriate sound, of course. Now, I'll just show you one of those photos here, and here's another one as well. And it's supposed to be at 1600 by 1200 according to the specs within my Apple, although the photos don't look anything like as good as that. The next mode along is the playback mode. Now, you can, using up and down and select again, you can pick a particular video file or a photo, and if you press record, or yeah, it is record, it starts playing, so press record to play, a bit confusing. Now, it comes out, there's sound coming out of the speaker up there, and next to that's a reset button that you have to press if it goes a bit mental. And I've had to press that a couple of times because it's kind of got locked up. Anyway, that's enough of that. It's time to do a comparison with the DVR D011. Now, if you've seen my other review of this, you'll know that this is a very cheap camera, which is pretty much the keyring camera contained within a torch case. Now, I'm going to put both these cameras side by side on my windscreen and drive around and take some footage, and let's have a look at that. Okay, we'll start off with some daytime footage first, and we'll use the new car DVR camera first. You can tell the difference between these two by looking at the timestamp at the top. It's green for the car DVR, that's the one with the fold down LCD screen, and then it's yellow at the bottom right for the D011, but I have labelled them just in case. Now, I'm going to show you the same bits of footage twice, and if you look at this, you'll see that I'm just going through the same junction here, and the D011 is of course very much zoomed in towards the middle of the screen. As we know with these cameras, the fisheye lens on the car DVR is a bit of a novelty. Most of the other cameras tend to have a very zoomed in view. Now, I'm going to try and do a split screen here with both cameras pretty much synchronized, so you can just see the difference between how much you can see on one camera compared to the other. And hopefully you can see from this that the footage quality between the two, there isn't that much difference, but of course the wide angle lens of the car DVR gives a much improved view of the road. And now we'll just head out onto the motorway. Now, I'm afraid it's a very dismal rainy day, so it's not as good footage as it would be if it was a bright day. But actually, I think the widescreen car DVR camera seems to prefer dull days compared to the sunny footage that I showed you before when it was in the snow. It had a sort of weird yellow tinge to it. It actually seems to give a more accurate colour palette when it's a dull day. And now here I am at the car wash, and just look at the difference between the two cameras here. This is the D011, and then this is the exact same position in the windscreen, but from the car DVR. It just shows you how much more you see from this camera compared to the other one. Okay, now let's try some night footage. This is something that's been requested, low light footage, so I went out. Now, this is a foggy kind of night, very misty, and now you can see that the this time the car DVR isn't coping very well with the low light. It's all the lights seem to have this kind of halo effect, although I do need to stress that it was a misty night, it wasn't a clear night at all. Although you can see what's going on, and I think if there was some kind of accident in front of your car, the footage would still be usable, but it's just, actually it's not really all that bad to say that we're recording in very low light here. If you actually take a camcorder out at this time of night, you can get some very poor footage indeed. Now let's flip over to the D011. Initially it looks worse, but actually when it gets going it seems to be a little bit sharper at times. When you look at the car registration number in front there, you can actually see that it's a little bit more defined. And just for the very last section, I'll stop blathering over it and let you listen to it so you can hear the difference between the two cameras as well as looking at the footage. Now, one thing I didn't mention last time is that you lose 3 seconds between each recording, which it starts with a noise like this. So depending on the way you've got it set up, you'll be hearing that sound every 2, 5 or 15 minutes, which could be quite annoying on the 2-minute setting. And also when you hear the sound, you'll know that you've just lost 3 seconds of footage between files being created. Now, I thought I should go on and mention about the sound quality, so we'll do some tests with that. So to compare the cameras, I pointed the 2 car DVR cameras and my Sony camcorder at a television playing my own videos. So just have a listen. Which takes full-size SD cards. I'm using a Class 10 16GB card because I didn't want it to go jerky. I'm using a Class 10 16GB card because I didn't want it to go jerky. I'm using a Class 10 16GB card because I didn't want it to go jerky. I don't think you'd need a Class. Okay, so there's just time left for one final test for the camera. I wanted to see if the car DVR camera would be any use as a security camera. The reason I'm trying this out is because it's got this motion detection function, which works very well for starting the camera off recording when you move a car, but I wondered if you were to leave it pointing at a scene, if it would start recording when it saw movement, and therefore it would work as a security camera. Now you see, if I wave my hand in front of it, at the top left here, the red light comes on. So it does work quite well that way. So what I did next is I put it on this plinth here. As you can imagine, it can't be tripod mounted because the screw thread's on the wrong side. Anyway, next I started walking up and down in front of the camera, getting gradually closer. Now I don't normally walk around like Benny Hill, I've sped this footage up. Anyway, I kept walking closer and closer, and then I came back in the house and I had a look to see what part of that footage it had captured. And here's the footage from the camera. And that's it, the very last section, just when I walk past the camera for the last time. So basically you have to walk right past the lens before it'll start recording. So unfortunately it's not very much use as a security camera. And finally, one thing I should have mentioned before, when you fold that screen down it doesn't rotate in any way left and right. So when you've got the camera pointing out of your car windscreen, unfortunately quite often the screen is pointing at an angle away from the driver, so you can't actually see what the screen is showing. Thought I should just mention that. Anyway, I think I've pretty much exhausted everything that I wanted to say about the camera, so thanks for watching.